Welcome to the Didi and Lital Show. Advice, thoughts, and stories from a married couple on cybersecurity, technology, and life in general. Now here are your hosts, Didi and Lital.
Hello and welcome to the Didi and Lital Show. It's another week and I think you want to talk about the Bruins?
Of course I want to talk about the Bruins.
So what do you want to say, Didi?
So let's start with this week in the Bruins. So for those that will listen to this in a million miles away, we're recording March 2nd, 3rd, whatever.
3rd, 4th?
Whatever. So,
3rd.
Beginning of March.
We don't know the day.
The team that every Bruins fan hates viscerally is the Montreal Canadiens. I think it's safe to say. We had a Canadiens fan on the show, Sam. It's not his fault. He got hit in the puck.
By the way, congrats, Sam, on your new gig. Awesome gig.
Congrats, Sam, on your new gig. So the Bruins broke the team to get fastest 100 points in the season schedule, which was owned by the Montreal Canadiens for the longest time. They're on pace to be the team that has the best record in the NHL ever in the regular season. And their goalie scored a goal.
The goalie scored the goal.
The goalie scored a goal. The goalie scored a goal is like massively impressive. And they've been going on at it for a while now. Swayman tried a couple of times. Olmec tried a couple of times because they beat up teams so badly right now that everybody's pulling the goalie and the goalies are trying to score. Now, pick up a tennis ball in your hand. Try to throw it across a basketball court. That's the range. Now try to do this with something that weighs a ton, because most goalie sticks weigh a ton, and a hockey puck weighs close to a pound of rubber. Now try to do this on top, kind of above a whole bunch of big dudes coming to hit the shit out of you. Now that explains what it means to score a goalie goal. So way to go.
Hooray.
Also, yes. Second, they beat a team that they had no business beating. Like their goalies had like a 50-something save game. They played like 5 minutes and they still won the game. So they're rolling. Bruins.
So you're happy with that?
When
is the Stanley
I'm happy
Cup?
like pig and shit.
When is the season over? Like how many weeks do we have to go?
Well, if they go all the way, you should know because you went with me.
I don't remember anything.
If they get to the Stanley Cup, it will be middle of June.
Okay, so we have time to discuss
we
it.
have a whole bunch of Bruins talk to go.
I want to talk today about cybersecurity as usual.
What cybersecurity?
It's been in the news for a while now. The China-U.S. relationship, the balloons were all over a month ago. We shot them down. 4 balloons. Only one was, I guess, a Chinese spy balloon. The rest were unidentified items flying in the sky that we used, I don't know, F-16 to shut them down or whatever missiles we used. And it was interesting.
We have the technology.
We usually have the technology to solve those problems. And it's interesting. Head of CISA talked this week and discussed that, people got crazy about those Chinese balloon and China spying on us and flying in the air and taking pictures of, U.S. Missile defense systems and stuff. When the reality is that nation state and specifically China has been let's spying on us.
So let's first let's not you know what they say about people that live in glass houses, right?
Okay.
They shouldn't go walk around in their underwear. Anyways, you should throw rocks. Now, you know what country spies on people the most ever by far?
I guess our original country?
No. First there's the U.S. and the NSA and Fort Meade.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I'm sure we have a lot of spy balloons.
No, forget the spy balloons. The NSA spies on everything. Do you think the regulations that the Europeans and all of them they want to safeguard their citizens' data from being hosted in the U.S.? They think they do this because they're just these like really mean French people. No, the biggest spy in the world is the U.S. After we establish that, the second biggest villain is Israel, and Germany and France are very close followers. So we keep throwing rocks at China, but we need to be aware that we are just as bad. Now, after we establish that, and don't be too self-righteous, I think we need to understand that people are stupid, and if it's not visible, they don't do anything about it.
They don't care.
They don't care.
A balloon is really scary.
A balloon is scary.
You
They
see
could have dropped a
it.
bomb on us, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes we need to give credit to some leaders that have vision. Chinese cyber attacks started briefly and were halted during the Bush administration.
The second Bush.
GW,
Okay.
the guy that we like to mock,
Make fun of.
make fun of as
okay.
one of the dumbest presidents we ever had. So apparently, Mr. Dummy understood very, very fast, or his advisors did, that there was something called Operation Aurora, which was an attempt on Google. And the Bush administration reacted really, really fast and said, "Guys, this is like a military attack. Do this again, and we'll."
And that came from China.
Yeah. And they all said, next time you do this, we'll act in force. Not you hack, we shoot missiles. And that paused stuff until other presidents were less willing to take that strong stance. And now I understand why I'm not judging and I'm not taking sides in politics. I'm saying that I can understand completely why somebody wouldn't want to go into a trade war with China, because everything we wear comes from there and everything we do comes from there. So we need to be very careful as how we walk that line. Our dependence on Chinese interest. Same goes, by the way, for stuff other countries do with cyber spying in the U.S., because everybody tries to cyber spy in the U.S. that generates most of the IP in the world. So what do you do if it's Germany? Do you want to pop the balloon? So
I don't know, but friendly. I think it's really interesting how political this thing is.
Mm-hmm.
So it like everything, right? Threats that are visible, you have to act on them.
Yes.
You have to shoot down the balloon, whatever. I don't know if it really collected anything. I don't know what's the real risk it imposed. For sure, it cannot be as big as, really...
malware embedded in everybody's tablets, for example.
Yes. Oh, TikTok on everyone's machines
Not on
tracking
mine.
you and knowing how you look and what you do on a daily basis. So, yes, I think this is interesting. I think that the change that we see, though, is that we're entering this Cold War with China, which might even get into a warmer war.
I don't think it's just with China. I think
We are in kind of like an interesting state. And
I think there's a cyber war going on for...
But now it's just escalating, and it's not just cyber. The trade war is there. I mean, the cheap manufacturing is going to go away from Asia and moved here because of those threats, because of the embedded threat, as well as the supply chain threat of just, manufacturing everything in Taiwan is a threat. That's another thing that this week was discussed in the news about, manufacturing of those high-end complex chips that are used. They're ubiquitous, but those that are really used in everything military, they're trying to move it to the U.S. because now 98% of it is manufactured in Taiwan, and it's a risk. It's a real risk. Not just cyber, it's a supply chain risk. We've seen it in the pandemic. So really interesting. Also in the news this week was kind of new proposed regulation, which will put way more focus on the need of software industry to embed security and have more responsibility around it, which I think is needed. I like it. I think that if you are creating software and selling it, It's very similar to if you are a car manufacturer and you're selling it. If it has safety issues, risky issues, some regulation should be around it. If you are building a building, there should be code. I think we talked about it when
Yes.
Dimitri was here.
And also-
Software
and
doesn't
also-
have
and
this thing.
Also in the episode that got released yesterday.
We
we
talked
were-
about
the
compliance,
compliance frameworks.
a few episodes back when you listen to this podcast. So I think there is a need for stronger regulation around software. What needs, people self-regulate themselves today. People want to do right. I don't think there is like a very clear, if you don't do X, Y, Z, then you're negligent. And maybe you can be sued for producing risky
Applications.
yeah. I mean,
So-
it's tough, right?
Yeah.
Because every code is buggy.
The Didi and Lital Show will return in a moment. The Didi and Lital Show is sponsored by ORT. In today's world, identities are the perimeter protecting the organization and are the most exploited vector by attackers. If your security teams are struggling to maintain control of identity management tools, ORT can help. ORT offers a centralized platform for discovering, monitoring, assessing, and remediating identity threats to your business. While most security platforms can take weeks or months to start identifying and remediating risks, with ORT, your security teams can get started in as little as 30 minutes and start securing the identity perimeter immediately. ORT will surface the most critical vulnerabilities and give your security teams the recommended action steps. Start your trial today at ort.io. That's OORT.io. The Didi and Lital Show is sponsored by Hunters. Hunters is a SaaS platform purpose-built for security operation teams, providing unlimited data ingestion and normalization at a predictable cost. Hunters helps SOC teams mitigate real threats faster and more reliably than SIM. Visit hunters.ai to learn more.
If you think of the what they were called Theranos, because think of when do you cross from being negligent to being fraudulent, and this is a big thing about VC kind of invested companies of when do you go over from being fraudulent.
But I don't think
No,
it's,
I'm thinking it's
fraudulent. I mean, there's so many legit software product that they want to move fast, break things. And, we talked about it with Raviv. New technologies never think about security from the get-go because they want to move fast. They want to break stuff. They want to get to market as fast as possible. And
now-
the ROI is not necessarily there. You want to get to market ASAP.
I'm not sure about that because this is where it becomes the difference between effective and negligent. What does it mean to be effective and negligent? This is nothing slows development if you force MFA. Trust me. I've been building software now for 35 years. No, nothing. MFA does not slow you down.
Okay.
So, and real MFA, not BS MFA of text me once every 90 days. Nothing slows you down. I'm going to give a shameless plug to my buddy Manoj. Nothing slows you down if you're incompetent and you don't know anything about security to plug in something like Sneak. Sneak comes in, scans,
Application security, scanning your code.
see that you don't do anything stupid. So
That if there are known vulnerabilities, you didn't include them in
exactly.
your code. Yeah.
There's a lot of what is called posture management tools. Now there's a slew of them, but there's I'll give you an example. There's a tool in AWS called GuardDuty.
Yep.
A lot of companies that really like our product come to us and say, how come you're not implementing Control A, Control B for us for AWS? And I ask them, why didn't you turn on GuardDuty? Now, some people that will turn it on and say it's too noisy, too problematic. It has.
I think that's the problem. There is also,
Yeah, but in reality,
nothing is perfect.
But in reality, there's a lot of these basic controls in place today in AWS, in Google, in Azure, that if you're building on top of them, and most people just don't even turn on the basics. And that's negligent. So you need some level of education. Remember Gabi's episode? First, start by educating people. If I would be the regulator...
So every developer needs to be educated about building secure product. That's a must. Like you learn a code and you learn how to secure the code.
Or even...
Is it even taught today? If you take, you major in C... Yeah.
So let's look.
It's been a while since you took comp sci classes, but like I don't know, is it in the curriculum these days? If you major in comp sci,
I would be surprised, but I'm happy to learn about it because
it has to be, right?
I think it's probably an optional class, and sometimes when they take an academic class, they're teaching. I'll say in security. I'll give you an example from another space that. They teach in ComSci, which misses the point. So there's something called binary search versus random search. If you need to find every name that starts with N, let's say I look for Lital in the dictionary. If I can start with A and go all the way to L, or I can start with L. Now, when they teach optimization, this is like the first thing they teach in academia, and then they miss the whole point that the OS does a whole bunch of stuff for you, and things don't come for free, and you need to do something in a pre-sorted things. Same goes with security. When we were taught security, we were taught how to do memory protection and how to do these things. So everybody's indoctrinated to think, oh, this is like really hard, because you need to deal with the attacks that Hunters is built to deal with, like really complex IOCs and how to detect really complex.
Not only,
but I'm saying
as well.
A lot of times when the developer learns about these things, he thinks that he needs to build Hunters, rather than to think, crap, I just need to click a button on a couple of things and make sure that I'm secured. And this is the thing that when ComSci teaches you, they teach you the complicated stuff rather than to teach you
pragmatic stuff. That's what schools are.
Yes.
that difference between life and so I think basically that's the way. And everybody talks about shift left and security embedded in dev. I think it's coming as regulation. I think very soon you'll have call.
I think shift left is a misleading idea.
Okay.
It's sometimes you just I'll call it hire a responsible adult. So I know security really, really well. I've been doing this for many, many years. One of the CISOs that we sold the product to decided I had enough. I'm going to sit and kind of think what I'm going to do next. I offered him to be a CISO in residence for us. And when he and I are having these conversations about security posture, even if you're the best security person, you need to have that security conversation. Have somebody ask you, what are your assets? What are you protecting? What do you don't care about? How much money you're willing to invest? By the way, I'm going to give a shameless plug to Dimitri, our buddy, who's basically teaching a class about this. So you need to start with understanding at the C level to understand, what do I need to do to start? Am I hiring the right people? Am I asking the right questions? So first I would start by educating the C level to ask a few questions like, is the fact that everybody in my organization is buying their own LinkedIn sales navigator, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Are they keeping customer information in there on their private accounts? Everybody's getting Notion or everybody's running their own Monday account. What information are they keeping in their Mondays? What are they keeping in Evernote? Is this something I should be worried? Shouldn't be worried? So start with the asking the business questions.
Yeah.
Then ask if you have the right person in place that can take a look at the technology and decide, I do this or I don't do that.
I think we need more engineering leadership. That the VP R&D, the chief product officer in companies have to have some training and knowledge of security. I think that's like, if you're a software shop, you want to have your, dev leadership having some sort of training and understanding, how to build secure product, how to think about it from design, how to not put it as an add-on and silo it, but how to hire the right people that actually have it in the mind, how to buy the additional software if you need, But technology is not the solution. It's like getting the right people. And I think this is like, you would want somebody that have been through some experiences. So I think that's something like if you are a dev shop, you want to have leadership that have this kind of experience. Do you agree?
I agree. And also find, so I'm continuously talking to Dimitri, who was on the podcast, and Mike, who I've referenced by name. But I highly recommend finding your Dimitri, find your Mike, start talking to them.
So all dev organizations should have consultants come out
they
from
have,
security.
They have advisors. I'm willing to bet that they have a whole bunch of advisors already.
For marketing and sales
for
and
marketing.
for other stuff, but not necessarily for the security aspect of the business.
Get an advisor. Give him like 1% of the company. Talk to them. Ask them questions. Start there.
Have them talk with your organization. I actually think that what you said about talking to the C-suite and stuff is not enough. It's actually the talking to the developers. Like they should care about the code that they're writing.
They should know that their boss is looking if they care.
Yep.
This is where it needs to start. That's why I said
there
start
needs to
with
be a KPI in the organization for that. Like not just how much code you put in your Git. Is how secure the code is. Right?
There are good metrics for this, and actually from GitHub.
Good.
Awesome.
Good. Well, I think we're heading in the right direction, and actually, it's time. I think that it shows an evolution.
Sure, but I think the thing that I'm always worried when government intervenes, government always will do the dumbest thing they can do.
And it's slow, so by the time something comes out, we already talked about it, it will be irrelevant. That's the problem. It will be too old.
Too old, not a good fit, and it
cumbersome.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what a hippo, a giraffe, and an elephant have in common?
What?
They're all horses designed by a committee. This is how these regulations are going to look like.
Sounds good. Well,
one more thing before I leave producer Dave. In the theme of hockey, have you ever seen the show Shoresy?
Yes, I have. I've seen every episode. I love Letterkenny and Shoresy. Amazing shows.
Exactly.
Yes.
So highly recommend to everybody. I think I'll the best way,
especially the Canadians.
Yes. I think it's like an amalgam of Degrassi and Mighty Ducks, but an R-rated of both.
Yeah, the guy behind that, Jared Kiso, I guess he created the whole thing, but I don't think you have to like so-called Canadian humor to like it. It's just hilarious, and the chirping in the hockey sequences are unreal.
Unreal.
Yeah,
unreal. So my recommendation for everybody, we've been following this for a while. Me and the kids waiting for season 2
of Shoresy. Is it coming out?
That's what the rumor.
Oh, okay.
That's what the scuttlebutt says.
We're
waiting for a season 2. So I leave everybody with look for Shoresy.
Look for Shoresy.
Look for Shoresy. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Another episode of the Didi and Lital show. Rate and review us wherever you get your podcast. If you want to be on the show, please reach out to Didi and me. Thank you. Thanks, Didi.
Thanks, Lital.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.